since I started this process. I've had some good journeys. It was interesting. The first journey was kind of a surprise. I journeyed in the garden in the spirit of the land. One of the first things she said was that she wanted roses, which was a surprise to me because in the past when I've journeyed to her, she's been very ambivalent about life and death and which plant where, but that probably has more to do with the questions I was asking. So, very excited about roses in this land, especially this is a rose-growing area, and we'll see, what wisdom those roses bring for us, and deer, perhaps. And I've also been doing some work around gophers on our property. We have lots of gophers, and we don't use poisons for a bunch of reasons. A, we're farming organically, but also because if you poison animals underground, they die underground and their bodies rot. You kind of don't want that around kids and pets and under your veggie mounds, things like that. So today, though, I journeyed and I asked the spirit of the land. Well, let me say a little bit more about the gophers. I do psychopomp work, which is about caring for the spirits of the dead. That's one of the things I kind of focus on in shamanism. And that's Bella, by the way, our dog. And so I started doing psychopomp work around the gophers that we were trapping and working with the spirit of the land around that. And it's been really powerful. It's totally changed for me the feeling around trapping gophers. It's kind of made me excited, not in a bloodthirsty way, but kind of in a celebratory way. That we're participating in the land in a way that's good. And one of the interesting things is when I do the psychopomp work, I often will ask for other spirits to show up to help a spirit move on. That's what psychopomp work is, by the way. In shamanism, one cannot always assume that spirits are able to move on to whatever they're going to do next in an easy way. And so oftentimes that requires assistance. So one of the ways you can assist and support a spirit in moving on is by calling other spirits that are not incarnate and asking them to support that spirit in the next leg of their journey. And a hawk showed up to help this one gopher spirit move on, which makes a kind of intrinsic sense. In some hunter-gatherer cultures, the primary food source, killing of it is ritualized to help ensure its yearly renewal, its cyclical renewal, and that there's a predator-prey element to that the animal that might consume, in this case gophers, would be especially interested and kind of paired with gophers in renewing their lives. So that's really shifted things. Also, my teacher kind of let me know that the way we were gardening was encouraging gophers more than discouraging them, kind of creating a gopher grocery store. For example, one of the main ways is we don't really manage our winter garden that well, and we let it become overgrown in such a way that it really encourages the development, the growth of gophers, the harvest of gophers. We have a big gopher harvest every year. So that's been exciting. Today I asked my teacher to teach me something I didn't know about the Elkhorn Slough again, which is over the hill from our house. And as soon as I journeyed, a hawk showed up again in the journey, and I merged with the spirit of the hawk, which is different than shape-shifting, and maybe I'll get into that at a later date, but I became very deeply connected to the spirit of this hawk and was able to experience the slough from the perspective of the hawk. And really, one of the most wonderful parts was feeling the just tremendous abundance of the slough. And it's an estuary, and just how powerfully it serves for the renewal of life. First from the perspective of birds, and then from the perspective of frogs and other animals. And while I was down in the mud at one point in the journey, and I think this was the real teaching for me, there was a lot of industrial noise around it. I really got a very visceral sense of how sound can heavily impact the development of especially some of the smaller creatures that larger creatures depend on. There's trains that run through the slough. The slough is close to Highway 1, and there's a lot of farming and ag that goes on around the slough as well. And also just the power of those vibrations and how kind of disruptive they were to this beautiful song of renewal and rebirth. So I'm just kind of sitting with the fecundity of that, with the power of that for now. And I'm really excited to work with that hawk spirit in the slough again.